Jim Boyle serving as an alternate for Dan Brady. Dave Marquardt serving as an alternate for Mike Devert. Mike Chambers serving as an alternate for Armin Budish.
Here.
Amy Hemmeline serving as an alternate for the fiscal officer.
Here.
And Lenore Lockett.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, very good. Can everyone take a minute to review the minutes from 11:25? Give you a couple of seconds here. If there's any questions, let me know. Okay, if none, I move to approve the minutes from November 25th Board of Control. Do I have a second? Seconded by Nan Baker. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We got one abstention. The item is approved. Board of Control minutes. First item, tabled items, sorry.
The first table item is item number BC 2019-841, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment subsidiary number 2 to a contract with DeJoya Suburban Excavating LLC for reconstruction and widening of Royalton Road from West 130th Street to York Road in the city of North Royalton for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $331,507.49.
Nicole English with Public Works. I think this was presented a couple weeks ago by Tom Sotiak in our office, and there was a couple questions on amounts that he wanted to get back to you, and he did send an email about a week ago with some backup and all the numbers. So we were just asking for it to be approved.
Okay, are there any questions on the item?
Just one for clarification. The engineer's estimate and the revised contract, is that about a 1.6 million difference?
Correct. So the engineer's estimate is what it's put out first, then the bid comes in. So this one, the bid actually came in over the engineer's estimate from the start.
Okay.
So that estimate really is not a contract value. It was just what we had estimated the project at first. So I would really be comparing the 14.658, that was the original contract, what the bid came in at, to the 15.7. So we're about $1 million over the initial contract.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, any further questions? If none, I move to approve the item. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
First new item, item number BC 2019-887, Department of Public Works, submitting a project agreement with Norfolk Southern Railway Company in the amount not to exceed $169,723 for force account and flagging services in connection with pier repairs on the West 150th Street Bridge number 0194 over Chatfield Avenue in the city of Cleveland.
Nicole English again with Public Works. So this is a railroad agreement, and we start the agreement so that they can begin looking at our engineering plans and make comments on that. So this $169,000 is both for their review of our plans, and then also when we start construction, they provide flagging services. So anytime you're working in the railroad right away, they provide the services that flag to be sure if a train comes. And so that's what the high expenses mostly due to the flagging, because they have to be out there every day that we are out there working. And so this project, I know there was an earlier question asked I got this morning, but I didn't get to it on a time period. In the agreement with the railroad, it does say that the scheduled notice to proceed is anticipated June 29th, 2020. But that's for the construction. As soon as we sign the construction or this agreement, they'll start reviewing our plans and everything. So that happens prior to, but the construction is scheduled for 6/29/2020, and the agreement would go into the end of the construction project.
Okay, are there any questions? Mr. Boyle?
What is the estimated completion?
This is a pretty quick one. I would guess by the end of 2020, we'd be done, since it's just pier replacement fixing that's going on. It's not a full bridge replacement of any sort. This is going to sort of get us a little bit longer on the bridge without us having to do a total replacement.
Are there any further questions? Councilman Miller?
What's the anticipated total project cost?
I believe we have welfare and convenience in committee this week on this project, so I'll get you the answer, but it's not super high, maybe $1 million, but I'll get you the answer on the full construction cost.
Okay. Any further questions? Hearing none or seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item, item BC 2019-888, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment, subsidiary number 2, to a contract with Kokosing Construction Company, Inc. for the resurfacing of Wallings Road from Broadview Road to Broadview Heights East Corporation Line in the city of Broadview Heights for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $68,087.58. Also, recommending to accept construction as complete and in accordance with plans and specifications, and requesting authority for the county treasurer to release the escrow account in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, section 153.63.
Nicole English, with Public Works again. This is the final closeout of the Wallings Road resurfacing project. And mainly this is just to square up quantities, final quantities. There was some additional maintenance of traffic cost due to driveway aprons that had to be milled and restored. And there was some heavy rains that came through and some landscaping that was destroyed that had to be repaired at some point. This is still, the final construction cost is still 17% under the estimate, so we're well under. And we are still having plenty of federal funds, so 80% is federal, 10% is the city of Broadview Heights, and 10% is the county.
Okay, are there any questions? Approve, is there a second? Councilman Miller, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, the item is approved. Next item.
The next item is a two-part item, item number BC 2019-889, Department of Public Works. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 47265, which will result in an award recommendation to Scaffolding and Supply Co. in the amount not to exceed $35,000 for the rental of safety scaffolding to access the exterior facade at the Justice Center complex. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works. This is a continuing item for scaffolding that is already in place for protection entering the sheriff's garage on the west third side of the Justice Center complex, just below the clerk of court's office. We have this scaffolding currently in place under a previously approved item, and we need to extend it as we are still waiting for our design from our consultant so that we can perform the mitigation in this area and then take down the scaffolding. We expect that to be in June of next year at this point.
Okay, Mr. Boyle.
Matt, that, in a previous life, I actually looked over that scaffold. It's been there for a long time.
Going on just about a year now. So the original reason for installing that scaffolding, as board members may recall, was in an area on the east side of the clerk's office. We had a panel failure.
Right.
And so that detail, through investigation, exists all around the three exterior faces of that clerk of court's addition on to the Justice Center, and that is immediately over where the sheriff's garage is. So we, under a mission critical, put that scaffolding in place for protective measures until we had a full investigation done, and then we had since started the consultant design for replacement of that facade detail. And so that is what is currently nearing completion. We expect to have that design by the end of this month. We've given our final feedback. It also incorporates the design for all the other regular facade mitigation that's happening at the court towers in Jail 1 in that project as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2019-890, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment to a contract with Aramark Uniform and Career Apparel Group, Inc. for employment uniform rental services for county employees in various county buildings. And it's for the period June 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2019, to extend the time period to June 30th, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $24,500.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, Department of Public Works. This item, we're just requesting an amendment with Aramark to extend it 6 months, add additional $24,500 to the current uniform contract while we have ongoing negotiations. We did a formal RFP earlier this year, and we're still in talks with one of the vendors.
Okay, are there any questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Council Miller. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The item's approved. Next item.
The next Item is a two-part item. Item number BC 2019-891, Department of Development. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 46478, which will result in a payment to Spirit of Cleveland, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $50,000 for support of the Blockland Solutions Conference for the period September 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019. And B, recommending the payment in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Paul Herdig, Department of Development. This item is for development's sponsorship of the 2019 Blockland Solutions Conference. This is the second annual conference. We did support the 2018 conference for the same amount, $50,000. This is from development's budget, and it supports our strategic elements of entrepreneurship and innovation in the county strategic plan. Folks may possibly have seen the article in Cranes this morning. The conference has a registration of about 1,500, which is comparable to last year, and it's anticipated will continue to build the brand of Greater Cleveland as a place where blockchain solutions can be developed. It is linked to, but is not part of, a broader strategy of encouraging entrepreneurship in the IT space.
Are there any questions? Councilman Miller.
What are the dates of this year's conference?
Councilman, I apologize. The original item had fairly broad date range. It starts on December 8th, which is this coming Sunday, and runs through December 11th, the following Wednesday. Sunday is an education day. The actual sessions are Monday and Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, they've incorporated a conference that was formerly held by Greater Cleveland Partnership.
Are there further questions? Councilwoman Baker?
Just one on the funding source. You mentioned that this is coming from the Department of Development,
Yes.
but it just says general fund discretionary funding source. Is that still the Department of
It's
Development?
my understanding that's how we describe our operating budget, which is general fund. And the reason we say discretionary is it is an item that was not hardwired into the budget, but was then recommended by the director and approved by the administration.
Okay. But that is coming out of the Department of Development
It is.
fund?
It is.
Okay, any further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item's approved. Next item.
The next item is a two-part item. Item number BC 2019-892, Department of Information Technology, on behalf of the Sheriff's Department. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 47324, which will result in an award recommendation to Integrated Precision Systems, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $70,106.96 for the purchase and installation of 24 surveillance cameras, 1 server for video archiving and maintenance services in the high-risk mental health cells in the Correction Center in the Justice Center Court Tower. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works, standing in for Mr. DeGrandis on this item. He presented a similar item to you last week on this. Specifically, this is for 24 cameras as read for high-risk cells on the 7th floor of Jail 1 in dorms 7A, 7B, 7C, and 7D in coordination with the corrections staff. This is also in response to the American Corrections Association report from earlier this year, and these are recommendations that go towards mitigating some of the concerns in that report for this area. Also of note, we have added the table on page 39 of the agenda to show the full breadth of the work that will be done under this capital project. As mentioned, there was an item presented last week. This was the second item, and there was two other forthcoming items to be submitted. The total value of all those items will be $242,422.80, and we have a current appropriation of $305,000.
Okay, any questions for Matt? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item's approved. Next item.
Item BC 2019-893, Department of Information Technology, submitting an amendment to a contract with Tech Communications, Inc. for network professional services to expand the scope of services to include professional services for the Data Center for IT Security Operations, effective December 2nd, 2019, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $30,000 for the period January 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2023.
This is Jeremy Mio, Department of Information Technology. Just to correct, the period will only be for until the scope of the contract from 12/2 until 2020. I'm not sure how the 2023 got in there.
Janelle Green, Department of IT. So the original contract that this is amending is extended until December 31st of 2023. So this will fall in between those dates. So that's how we came up with the dates, just to clarify.
So these services are getting a subject matter expert to review and to assist in the implementation of the expansion of the security operations environment. That environment has rapidly expanded due to emerging threats and other types of services internal to the county. So we seeked out a specific subject matter expert to help us. This subject matter expert is available starting this week. It is really hard to get his services until probably the beginning of next year. So this is our item. And I think I sent, oh, yeah, keep going. Any questions?
Are there any questions? Mr. Boyle?
So, Jeremy, I'm looking at this, and I spoke to the OPD folks. It doesn't look like any of this has gone through any of the on-base workflows.
I believe this has gone through the on-base workflows.
Janelle Greenback. So the original intent was to process it as a DO. And so we changed in the process how we did it. So the only approval that needed to be reviewed is the financial piece. Law also already saw it, and they drafted the contract for this. And then all the other approvals did go through.
Okay, I think we're hearing conflicting information that nothing's gone through the workflow yet.
It has gone through the workflow. And I worked with OPD on Wednesday in order to make sure that we got everything through.
So Andrea Richardson, Office of Procurement and Diversity, in the on-base system, there is several workflows that it has to go through. Here's a printout here. It has to go through each. So you can see
I
it.
understand.
It has to go through each workflow before it can get to my queue. What's listed on the attachment that I have given the fiscal officer, as well as Jim Boyle, it has not gone through or received all of the prior approvals recommended for it to get into my queue yet. And the question was on, from the council members, are any of these items considered a walk-on? In parentheses, items that didn't go through the on-base approval process or have not completed the on-base process.
Understood. So this, again, the original item was processed as a DO, which has a different method of which to matriculate through the system. So in talking to our OPD representatives, and they said that we should process it in another way. So we did go through and process it, instead of as a DO, we processed it as a contract amendment in order to secure the services for this security expert. So we did do essentially outside of the regular process. Law did review the item, and law did actually generate the item for them for the vendor to review and sign off on. The only, in terms of what the process is in the system, the only process that it didn't go through was for the financial piece to be verified by OBM, but we also do that internally to IT.
So outside of OBM, it should make a clearing, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Jim, any?
Yeah, my inclination, we've moved away from having walk-ons come through this process. And my inclination, again, I certainly, there's two council members seated to my right who I perhaps will weigh in, but I'm not happy with the process that we've seen here, and whether there's a confusion or not. We're too far down the line, in my opinion, for this type of confusion. And I don't have anybody articulating that law signed off on it. I don't have anything in here. And so I mean, my inclination would be to ask to table it, but I don't want, perhaps you can give, is there some mission critical, is there something that you can give us more so?
This expert was sought out for the expansion of our security environment. So right now, we're at a limitation on the usage of our security operations environment without additional review and items within it. It's a storage capacity. We're expanding the environment tremendously. This person was sought out to review and implement a lot of those things. We've been working, at least I know from my perspective, through department order, through the process recommended, through the people that I talk with almost over a month now. So it's not something it's definitely an emergency item for us, but we've been working on this item for over, a month to get submitted in the best possible way.
And he's here this week?
He is working remote. It's on standby. It's this full week that his services are dedicated for.
But he's going to start this week was the plan,
That's
correct?
the plan, yeah.
I'm sorry, also to interject, Maggie Keenan is here, and she said that OBM does approve of this transaction.
Okay. Councilman Baker?
Well, that was one question. And the other, do we have confirmation from legal that they in fact have gone through this process? And it sounds like it's hinging on that confirmation outside of OBM.
Before Jared would speak, I worked with Jonathan McGorry directly on this item, and he drafted this contract. Normally, when we submit an item through OnBase, we do submit the matrix number in which we submitted this, and so this does have a matrix number, and it did go through law. They drafted this item.
You have any more to say to that, or it's not yeah.
Beyond that, I can't speak to what happened. I mean, that would sound like the ordinary course to me, but having not drafted it and not approved it in OnBase myself, I'm limited as to what I can say, but I can surely check with Jonathan if you'd like and get back to you.
I know we don't want to present items late. We have an opportunity you're saying we may miss, correct?
Correct.
The other issue is we could do, Councilman Miller, please.
I suggest that we hold this item for possible action later this morning, and that we contact the law department, the director, and see if this item has the law department's approval.
You want to do it right now and during the meeting? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've reached out to Jonathan if he is here today to see if he can come down to speak on it. If we can hold it to the end of the meeting and then address it at that point, hopefully it'll make
that's the
everyone
hope,
comfortable.
yeah.
Okay.
Moving on to the next item. Item number BC 2019-894, Department of Human Resources, submitting an amendment to a contract with GPI Enterprises, Inc. for temporary staffing services for the period March 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019, to extend the time period to June 30th, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $28,500.
Good morning, Pat Smock on behalf of the Department of Human Resources. This request is to extend a contract we have with a temporary staffing agency. They assist with the HR's public records manager. We have an increased volume of public records requests over the past 6 months. The vendor was selected through an RFP. We're hoping that the 6-month extension, which is at the same rate as the original agreement, will allow the department to respond to the requests during that period, and the volume of requests will eventually decrease over that time and eliminate the need for the contract. We did receive questions prior to the meeting regarding the current number of temporary staffing contracts. We researched in the OnBase system. There appear to be 4 county agencies with 5 contracts that'll go into 2020 with 4 different vendors. The plan not to exceed maximum for all those contracts together is approximately $269,000. And we appreciate your consideration of this request.
Councilman Miller.
Are the additional public records requests mostly related to the county jail, or is it more broad in scope than that?
I think Councilman, I think we've had an increase across the board, but talking to the records administrator that we have on staff, it does appear that a great majority of them are in regards to the jail. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item's approved. Next item.
Next item is a two-part item, item number BC 2019-895, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services. A, submitting an RP exemption on requisition 46801, which will result in an award recommendation to Applewood Centers, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $15,000 for evidence-based trauma-informed treatment services for child victims and witnesses of violence in connection with the fiscal year 2020 Victims of Crime Act Defending Childhood Initiative project. And it's for the period October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2020. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety. And as Andre has already explained, the purpose of this contract and the treatment is to mitigate and or treat the impact of trauma. This exemption is being requested on the basis of the fact that this provider was specifically named in our VOCA application as a subrecipient, and the state has approved the subrecipient award. And as I've explained with the other VOCA contracts that I've come up, this is late because we did not receive our VOCA award until mid-October, and so we had to process it that way. We do need to have the period coincide with the grant performance period, which is October 1st.
Okay, any questions? Councilman Miller.
Is this a new recipient, a new program under VOCA? Or?
It is not. We actually, the first year for this service was last year, so this will be the second year under VOCA.
And was the amount of money for this year the same? Or?
No, it wasn't. The contract for Applewood last year was $48,000. This year it's $15,000, as we explained, I think it was about 2 weeks ago. We took almost a 20% cut to our VOCA award, and specifically it was this area and our centralized intake that bore the cut.
I was certainly aware that they had reductions.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item is a two-part item, item number BC 2019-896, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Office of Homeless Services. A, submitting an RP exemption on requisition 47299, which will result in an award recommendation to Metanoia Project, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $125,000 for shelter and hospitality services for shelter-resistant persons during the cold weather months. And it's for the period January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Shari Weir, Office of Homeless Services. We are requesting approval of this item, which is something that has been funded for the last several years and provides hospitality and shelter for people who will not access the other shelters that are available, and also works to link these people with outreach workers and services that can assist them.
Any questions? Councilman Miller? Oh, sorry. Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item's approved. Next item.
Number BC 2019-897, Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Reentry, submitting an amendment to a contract with Recovery Resources, Inc. for recovery redirection case management services for the jail diversion program. And it's for the period January 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2019, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $169,000.
Good morning, Fred Bolleton of the Office of Reentry. This is a one-year extension of the program that provides case management and assessment and reentry planning services for people who are serving their sentence in the Cuyahoga County jails in the anticipation that this will help prevent recidivism for them. The program has been in operation for 4.5 years, and it has so far shown the recidivism rate is lower among the people involved in the program than similar people who have been sentenced who have not gone through this and have not used this program.
Okay, are there any questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, item BC 2019-898, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, submitting an amendment to a contract with Case Western Reserve University, Mandel School of Applied Social Sciences for provision of a child welfare specialist to assist with the development and facilitation of various programs in connection with the National Quality Improvement Center of Tailored Services, Placement Stability and Permanency for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, and two-spirit children and youth in foster care grant program. And it's for the period September 30th, 2017 through September 30th, 2021 to change the terms to modify the payment schedule effective September 30th, 2019, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $21,758.
Good morning, Karen Anderson, Division of Children and Family Services. This is part of our federal grant project that we have in cooperation with the University of Maryland for evaluation services on the LGBTQ2S grant program. Case and University of Maryland and DCFS have been coordinating evaluation metrics, and this is an amendment to the work we're asking Case to do. There was a scope attached to the contract, and the reason that it's 930, it coincides with the federal fiscal grant year.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Item number BC 2019-899 is a two-part item. Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Senior and Adult Services, A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 46843, which will result in an award recommendation to the Center for Community Solutions in the amount not to exceed $20,000 for financial support for administrative staffing. And it's for the period January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Paul Porter, Health and Human Services on behalf of the Division of Senior and Adult Services. This is annual funding that DSAS has awarded to COOP for the past several years, and it was in response to a challenge grant that was issued by the McGregor Foundation. They provide funding to support COOP, the Council on Older Persons, as well as Western Reserve Area Agency on Aging and the Benjamin Rose Institute. We did request an increased value for this year's contract. DSAS is asking the Center for Community Solutions to both serve as fiscal agent and provide management services for COOP, and also to prepare and release 2 issue briefs, one regarding overall funding trends and services for older adults here in Cuyahoga County, and then a more specific issue brief regarding the role that senior centers funded by DSAS play in improving health and independence and combating social isolation for seniors here in the county.
Okay, are there any questions on this item? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, item BC 2019-900, Court of Common Pleas Corrections Planning Board, recommending an award on requisition 46981 and enter into an agreement with Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board of Cuyahoga County in the amount not to exceed $219,000 for intensive outpatient treatment and aftercare counseling services in connection with the dually diagnosed offender intensive outpatient and aftercare program, and is for the period July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2021.
Good morning, Marty Murphy for the Corrections Planning Board. This particular item funds intensive outpatient drug treatment services for a population of co-occurring mental health offenders and intensive probation supervision offenders. You may recall last week we had a partner item on the agenda where we provided funding for the inpatient subset prior to the release and going to outpatient. So it's a companion item. The particular dates on it coincide with the state fiscal year. It's late primarily because we didn't get all of our documents in place until almost the 1st of October, and then going through the on-base process.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Councilwoman Baker?
Through the on-base process, it will take 60 days to do that?
It depends as to whether it goes smoothly or it gets kicked back.
And did this one not go smoothly?
I would have to actually go into on-base and see specifically what the machinations were in terms of this through the different approval cycles in on-base.
And I understand the delay all the way to September 24th. But once we receive the signatures, and now you're in the on-base process, I just wondered why it took another 60 days from the time we had it to today.
Sure. I'd be happy to go in, look that up, and get back with you.
Yeah, if we could find a way, if there is a way to speed up that process so we're not as more late than what we're at because of the state.
Absolutely. I'll
delay.
get back with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to move back to the item number BC 2019-893. And again, that was the Department of Information Technology submitting a contract with Tech Communications, Inc.
Janelle Green, Department of IT. As we stated earlier, the contract for this item with TEC Communications was drafted by the Law Department. We do have Jonathan McGorry here to attest to that fact.
Good morning, Board of Control members. This is Jonathan McGorry from the Law Department. Last week, Janelle reached out to me asking for confirmation whether or not this contract should be a contract or a department order, excuse me. And I confirmed that it would be a contract, and I drafted said contract.
So you're approving it, basically, everything's approved through your end?
Correct.
Okay. So do we have any further questions on this item? Oh, sorry, Lenora?
Lenora Lockett, Office of Procurement and Diversity. So it hasn't gotten to the buyers, but they did, if it went through as a deal, they would have did their review at that point, and they would have done a cursory review. I know one of the things was just something minor, like a W-9, so we need to make sure that even once we get approval, that we get the necessary document.
While I was sitting here, I did contact TEC directly. I do have it here, so I can forward it over. So I do have the document that's necessary.
Mr. Boyle?
Well, I mean, this is not the right process. And the process that we have, you know, in my time with the county, I've interacted with the OBM staff in a lot of different capacities, and they are a quality control mechanism that is in place to make sure that our rules, our regulations, and our contracting provisions are complied with, that they're followed, and this isn't it. I mean, this is not a good process, at least from an approval side.
Right, and we definitely understand, and we did not intend for it to be outside of the process. But once we were alerted and knowing that the need of the security team to have this expert in-house, we did process it. So we went through the traditional route of a department order, which is the normal way that it would matriculate through the system, which as a point would bypass OBM and that point. So once we were alerted, once it got to OPD, who is at the tail end of the process, stated that it needed to be a contract, I went and verified it with Jonathan, and he did verify that it needed to be a contract, and we went and proceeded what would normally be the order and the normal order of course to process it as such. So in this process, worked with OPD, and we had through the process, they do have a checklist of items that we need to present with any contract. So we made sure that we had every item that is on that checklist, and we made sure we hit all the points, even though it went not in the normal course for a contract, but it went through the normal course for a department order. Right. So, but we will not make sure that we don't process things like that again, and make sure we do follow process.
Okay, and I get that, but once you knew that it was going to go through as a contract, there are steps and processes that need to be followed, and certainly you spoke to law last week, and yet we're here today.
Right. Well, we processed that in the last week.
Understanding the time sensitivity of this, if we don't approve it today, I'm assuming you'll come back next week as a mission critical because this is needed. Is it a mission critical item to the county?
It is. We'd have to see if the resource is even available. So we'd probably just have limited security operation capacity until probably the resource is available again. Okay. Or try to find another resource.
Okay, well, go ahead, please. No? Councilman Baker.
Understanding that there is an immediate need and having legal support what it is that you have stated, and also your admission that this will not be the normal course of action.
That is correct.
You know, I think we need to do what we need to do in order to get the IT what they need to take care of the problem that they're dealing with. But we certainly don't want, I mean, I think it's been made pretty aware that we don't like the way it was pretty clunky, the way it went through.
Right, definitely. And, you know, the normal course of this would have been to withdraw that item and process it through as a contract. Just knowing that the end of the year is here, we have to go through all the processes and things like that. We just wanted to get this item processed. And like I said, and we brought numerous items here before, and we normally put it through the regular process. So we will continue to use that and employ that process. And we just wanted to ask this as a one-time exception for this item.
Okay, well, seeing your support, I'll make a motion to approve the item. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, the item's approved. Let's
Thank you.
Do our best. Thank you.
We're moving on to the consent agenda, item numbers BC 2019-901 through 904.
If you want to take a minute and let me know if you have any questions on those items. I know there was a question on one of the travel, two travel questions. I think we have both parties here if you guys have any questions on it. Councilman Baker, please.
I'm just now reading the explanation, and it says here that the most expensive part, or one of the most expensive outside of lodging, is the registration, and that there was a thought that the 3 or 4 people that are attending this, it would be waived. Did they know yet whether or not that would be waived?
Okay.
Maggie Keenan, Office of Budget Management. The 3 staff are going to go for free because they're first-time attendees, and one of the individuals listed, Danielle Clark, is not attending. So 5 of us are going, 2 of us have to pay.
And, okay, so the registration fee is different than what's here now?
That's correct. That was a not to exceed, so we just wanted to make sure that to get the item through, we had covered all of our bases, but we're not going to come close to that.
If I may, and the airfare of $900 sounds pretty reasonable. Is that for 5 people?
Yes.
Mr. Boyle?
On the IT one, it's an online training, and it's $26,400.
These are for vouchers, so there are 6 vouchers for that. So it's 6 courses online. These online courses are anywhere between 80 to 250 hours that provide and obtain either certifications or continuing education credits.
Okay, any further questions on any of these items? If not, Councilman Baker, please.
Wonder when it doesn't, and I can go back to the $900 for how many people for airline? How do you get a price like that? I mean, I know we have
So Maggie Keenan, that's a question for the business manager for the fiscal office. I don't do the travel.
Oh, okay.
I hope it includes all 5 of us.
Yeah, maybe one.
Should all go. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, I move to approve these items. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Marquardt. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? The items are approved. Do we have any additional business?
Yes, we do. We have one mission-critical item. It's from the Department of Public Works, recommending an award on requisition 47454 in the amount not to exceed $11,154 with the Cromwell Mechanical, which is the vendor, and it's for county jail dental clinic equipment repairs, and the funding source is jail operations.
Good morning, Matt Reimer, representing the Department of Public Works. This item is a mission-critical item that was needed to restore dental operations. We lost suction on 2 separate occasions to the dental functionality, which downed the dental chairs, so we had to immediately respond to both of those occasions. And this reflects 2 dates of service, the total here, and all the invoices included.
Okay, are there any, first off, I move to amend today's agenda to include this item. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, it's been added. Are there any questions? Councilman Miller.
Of the money, how much was for services and labor and how much was for equipment?
The majority of this was for labor. I can get on the first invoice of this $11,000 was $1,500, of which approximately $1,000 was labor and $500 was material and equipment. So I would say that a pretty similar background, but I can get a follow-up answer on those exact breakdowns on cost and labor, but that's majority labor on this, Councilman.
That's a lot of labor for 2 days of service.
It is. So this was a 2-man crew. What needed to be done was to clear suction from a blockage. That took 10 hours on the first day of service, upon which we discovered there's a long history with the location of these dental chairs in the jail. They have been in various locations throughout their history, so there was a accumulation of old suction piping within the network. The second time when we lost failure 10 days later, we had to completely remove all of the old and abandoned suction piping, and that was extensive to restore operations here.
Is this essentially like sewer work?
So with dental, this is what is being sucked out of your mouth, and so you're getting a combination of dental materials and biohazards. So yes, and that is treated a little bit differently even than sewage.
Okay.
Okay, Hugh. I mean, Matt. Sorry.
Past life. So
yeah. Okay, I make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, the item is approved. Any additional business?
No other business at this time.
Okay, with that being said, I make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, the item's adjourned. Thank you.